You're doing a lot. We're going to be talking about some of the amazing things that have happened for you this last year.
Being present in the good and the bad, trying not to numb that out is so important.
Hearing you talk, I can't imagine the things that you went through. Hello, and welcome everyone to another episode of Successful Stylist Academy podcast. We are super excited that you're here. My name is Drea, and I will be your host today. And before we get into it, I just want to say thank you so much to you guys, to our listeners, to our Successful Stylist Academy community, for just being a part of what we're doing and allowing us to come alongside your journey. It is a big deal, and we definitely realize that. A big thank you to any of you who have left a review on our podcast. It helps us to grow, and it's really huge in our process of helping the right people to find us. So thank you. And if you haven't done that and you want to take a second to leave us a review, give some love to our guests. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want more of. We would absolutely love to hear from you. So we have a special guest here, a beauty professional in the industry, and many, many more things, which we're going to get into. Hannah Ehlers. I'm sorry. Gosh darn it.
No, it's okay. It's Ehlers. It's spelled completely different than it sounds. So no worries.
You guys, I asked her before we got on here so that I could say it right. And that's, it was 30 seconds ago. So you know how that works, and kind of already goofed on that, and names are important. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Hannah. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. I mean, as you know, we're in storytelling session, so we're getting nice and vulnerable, and I just am really honored to be a part of just a catalyst to help you share a little bit about your story, connected in with what you do in the industry, because we are one person and we're not split in pieces, and everything that we do affects everything that we do and who we are. So I'm going to jump in and just start kind of throwing some questions at you. And with storytelling, let's get to know you a little bit. So where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about little Hannah, memories, family members, friends, anything along those lines that really are, standout moments for you in kind of your earlier part of your life.
So I grew up everywhere, all over the United States. My dad was in the Navy, and I'm one of 6 kids. So literally just traveled all around the coast. So I like to say that I'm not really from anywhere, but I was born in Keflavik, Iceland. And then we came back to the States, and we finally settled around high school in Texas. And that's where I moved to Colorado from. That's where I am now. And I just, I grew up with a lot of girls. So hair, makeup, all the things were always really big in our house. It's kind of funny because my mom actually wanted us to be the opposite of that. So minimalist. And that was just not in our nature.
Did we talk about this before? Because my dad was in the Navy too. And I also say they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, the lot. I never am from anywhere either. So I moved all over. I also lived in Texas at one point in time. So I don't think I knew that about you.
I think we might have briefly touched on it, but it was in passing,
And that shows when we're multitasking.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's skip ahead a little bit to now, and maybe a little bit before that. But what found you in the beauty industry? I mean, you talked a little bit about growing up with a lot of girls around you and just kind of loving doing the girly things. So I'm sure that was a part of it. But how did you get started? And what are you doing in the industry now? What do you specialize in?
So I got started really, really young. And it started just in the funniest way to me. My sister had this MAC eyeshadow palette. And this is had to be 2007, so you needed to have MAC, right? And It was blue and lime green, like a periwinkle blue and a lime green. And she did my eye makeup. And I remember I felt like the most beautiful person in the entire world. And I went downstairs, and my mom was like, "What is on your face?" But I think that was the first time I felt like the power of that kind of interaction, right? Of that transformation. The beauty industry has kind of always been around me. My mom has always done hair. So she's always braided and had people come over. She does locks. And so just being exposed to that, I got to, I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with it. And then as I got older, I was more and more drawn to it. But I was kind of being pushed to go to college and do something different. And so I lost my way a little bit going to college. I feel like it wasn't everything gives you a lesson, so it wasn't a waste of time, but it wasn't my true purpose. So I dropped out of college and I went to aesthetic school. And originally I intended to be a cosmetologist, which is kind of funny. And like through that time, I realized I'm not gifted with hair. I'm not super drawn to it. I don't know how you guys do it. I like to remove hair, but hairstyling was just like a little bit outside of what I was naturally drawn to. So that's kind of how I got into the beauty industry. It was a little bit of a zigzag, but I got here. And now I'm an esthetician in Colorado. I have my own skincare studio and I'm a mom and I get to juggle those things.
Yes, well, I definitely want to get into more of the momhood side with you as well. But isn't that crazy just how, I mean, we can try to do something, and if it doesn't align with what our purpose is, like we're just like postponing the inevitable. I mean, we're just like constantly just like on that treadmill until we step off and like take a step in the direction that like aligns with our calling. So I love that you said that. I'm pretty sure I had both of those eyeshadows actually. Both of those colors. I was definitely a matte girl, especially in beauty college. Not that I can do my own makeup to save my life, but I also felt pretty when I slathered it on my eyelids. So I would love to know, you're doing a lot, and we're gonna be talking about some of the amazing things that have happened for you this last year, and how I got to know you a little bit. But what's a big like current ambition that you have, like something that like a dream or a goal that you're right now in the process of working towards that you could share with us?
My big dream and goal right now is really to cultivate patience. That's the word that I've been rolling around in my head, patience and maintenance. So finding the beauty in that. For a little bit there when I was getting the studio set up, and kind of just the past 2 years of my life, I've been like, next thing, like let's go here, and how do I make this better? How do I improve this? Like, what's the next goal I need to reach? So really, right now, for me, it's what can I maintain? Like, what beauty is there in patience? How do I get out of this feeling of just like next? Because you start to not be able to just sit there and absorb that you accomplished something and it was beautiful. And so that's my big goal, is bring that into my life.
Well, that is beautiful and not what I expected you to say, but I love that you did, because I mean, first of all, it's like, ugh, like I feel that. And I know that there's so many of us that, I know Ambrosia's silent right now, recording us, but we're so on to the next thing. And we always talk about that with SSA and the things that we're partnering with. And it's like, what is that balance, if that's even real, of not working in the result, but working in resolve. And so with you saying patience, I feel like living and working in resolve rather than result is one thing that I've really been trying to do in my life as well and in my work, because I feel like without that patience and without being in the resolve, like we lose our creativity, we put pressure on ourselves, we're living under the pressure of an expectation, we can't be present with people, we miss out on things. So I think that that is a beautiful thing, and that so many of us struggle with. So thank you for saying that.
I do want to like set more goals, and I do have like more tangible goals in the future, but it's hard to make myself say, no, you're going to sit here in this and you're just going to be there.
Well, and that's the goal, because that's the harder thing. Like you're always going to have something that you're actually working towards, but being present is a whole nother story, and being peaceful and present, in that process that's a challenge always. So it's a good one. So as women, as entrepreneurs, creative business women, mothers, like the list goes on and on. I know you have a lovely little girl, Aspen, and I want you to tell us just a little bit about her and like what motherhood looks like for you.
So Aspen, today is actually her birthday. She's 10 years old today. Yes.
Oh, happy birthday, Aspen.
It's a really big day, it feels like, for me. She was born with a liver disease called biliary atresia. And oh gosh, that comes with that's not even the most interesting thing about her, but it comes with its own set of difficulties and life experiences. She is funny. She's smart. She loves to talk. She is kind, and she's so observant. It blows me away. So I feel blessed to know her, outside of all the other things that have come along with our motherhood journey. Those are the most interesting things I think about her. But when she was born, I had no idea that she had a liver disease. I had a completely normal pregnancy, completely normal delivery. It was all like a dream for me. And then to me, something was off. I could feel it in my spirit. And she started to get sicker. And so then it started to be a visible change where you could tell she was sick. So I think that was really challenging for me because at the same time, I'm wrestling with all those postpartum hormones. So I just felt crazy anyways. And that was kind of like a really hard introduction to motherhood for me personally, because I didn't feel like I ever settled into a normal routine. The first 2 months of life with a baby, you just kind of survive.
Well, Aspen sounds amazing, and I hope that I get to meet her. And you saying that you just felt in your spirit something was wrong, and we just know, before doctors tell us, as mothers, I think as women, we can feel it, in our gut, in our soul sometimes. I'm sorry you had a rough start. I know that also probably adds to a lot of strengths that you have, everything that you are. And with that said, I met you because I got to work with you. And I want to keep getting a little personal if you'll give me permission, but I did get to work a few shows with you this year, and it was really amazing. It was really special with the team that Christopher brought together, along with so many other amazing people. I could spend a lot of time there, but staying on track, I got to know you. I had the opportunity to get to know you a little bit with a lot of the team. And after the show, we were working a shoot, and there was an incident where you got a call and you had to leave our shoot early. And at first I didn't know, what was happening with that. And you had gotten a call from, your heart was, in the hospital, and you were trying to work an event and do what you do professionally and creatively and, fulfill a dream. And I know for me, as you get to know people, and you get to know people very fast and very intimately on the road for the most part. And when they're celebrating, you're celebrating. And when there's a victory or they have a win, you're cheering them on. And the flip side of that is, even if you don't know what's happening, when someone's hurting, you're hurting too. And I just wanted the first part of that, I just wanted to ask you to share a little bit of that experience with us. And then I kind of have a second part of that, if that's okay.
Yeah. I kind of want to give you a good amount of backstory so that you can understand. So Aspen did receive a new liver, which is why she's still here with us, why we get to see her second birthday. And I always tell her that's our gift. So anytime we talk about medicine or doctor's visits, and I do try to talk to her a lot because I just want her to know and understand, even if she can't understand it fully. So I always frame it as your gift. We need to go check on your gift. We need to take these meds because we're taking care of the gift. That's how I like to choose to say it. But she got her donor liver when she was 8 months old, and it was her second liver offer. It's a super hectic process. getting approved, and then you just kind of wait. And so for like 6, 7 months, your phone is on and your ringer's on constantly, which means anytime someone calls, I was like jumping at the phone waiting for that opportunity. So the day comes where she gets a really good liver offer, and we brought her up there, and the surgery was supposed to take maybe 6 to 8 hours, and it ended up taking almost 12. Her body had done some funky things, and they had to do a surgery they'd never done in a child before just to get blood flow to her new liver because it was like a really critical point. So we ended up in some really uncharted waters. Literally, they were telling, us that they had no idea what her life would look like, couldn't guarantee like the next few weeks or anything. So that's like a really hard space to be in. But eventually, after a few months, her and I were in the hospital for almost 3 months after her surgery because of complications. Wow. We got to come home and we kind of got to start building our life. So she slowly got off of her IV nutrition, which is a big win for me because I didn't have to do it anymore. We were able to take her off her feeding tube, and she started to be able to, eat on her own independently. And so this is all happening like right around this time, like November, December of last year. And one of the big complications and risks that she'll have for the rest of her life is internal bleeding. So I was really just holding my breath, waiting for that next shoe to drop because she's a challenging kid. And those things just come up and you have to roll with it, but it's hard to not know when or how it'll happen. It's just, it leaves your nervous system in a sense of like just extreme anxiety. So I started to try and like rebuild my life because I knew that I still love aesthetics and I still want to see my guests. So it was time for me to try and slowly branch out being away from her because I got super attached to her and it was just hard for me to not be able to monitor her myself. So I started going back to work, and I met Christopher at one of the work shows, and he, or not work shows, it was I think it might have been our grand opening when I worked for a Lure Beauty Bar. And he was like, oh, yeah, you should come do some shows with us. And I was like, oh, okay. Just kind of blew it off, like did not take it seriously. And then I got the opportunity to go. So that's kind of when you met me, is I'm in this big personal shift of dealing with anxiety, dealing with a lot of trauma induced by just noises, because the hospital is the opposite of quiet. People think of hospitals as quiet, it's loud. So I was really working through and, kind of reinserting myself back into society and like trying to figure out what normal people talk about and do. So that's where I was when you met me, in that space.
Hearing you talk, I'm just like gut, just I can't imagine the things that you went through. And I don't think I knew when I met you, like how recent, like how much you were just like, I'm just getting back to trying to do something for myself and something that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being willing to share that. I know that you have a very unique story with your daughter, but I know that there are other people that can relate in similar but different ways. So I think that that's really huge to just know there's always these things going on behind the scenes. And I met you the first show, and it's like all I see is you being sweet and a little reserved and just banging out this incredible like makeup artistry work. And that's all I saw, So thank you for sharing that. And kind of the second part of that question is, and this is probably something you're just still navigating. So I'm kind of asking you to share it in the midst of the process, I guess. But how do you deal with the challenge of time and emotion and the pressure, like while trying to maintain your passion and working in purpose. With me traveling all over the world with Joyco at one point in time in Olivia Garden and now doing things with Successful Styles Academy, my daughter's grown, but she wasn't. I started traveling when she was born, and there's that mom guilt, but then there's also you have to do a certain amount of things for yourself to show up for other people, including your children, the way that you want to. How do you navigate it? Like, what does that balance look like? It was definitely a real struggle for me. And I want my daughter to do those things for herself on a small level when she's younger and now that she's into adulthood. So those were things that I wanted to show her, but then I want to be there for her too, and probably even more so for you with your unique situation. So I just really value your thoughts and process, and kind of wanted you to hear how you approach that struggle so that I know other moms and professionals can kind of take that too.
It's really shifted over time, and not even a long period of time, just in the past few months. I think part of the reason that, a lot of people did not know about what I was going through, or really this was like my first time really like working in this environment and all the other stuff thrown into it, is because I was embarrassed. I didn't want people to know, because I felt like that's not even my whole story. That's not even the most interesting thing about my daughter. And I was so afraid of pity for the longest time. That emotion freaks me out a little bit. And I really like to be an independent person. So that fear of like, what will people think of me? Or what will they say if I'm honest about where I'm at in my life? Making myself do those shows and enjoying them, getting to be an independent adult when you understand this, because you are a mom. So just like you really don't have to take care of someone else, it's just you. That was really my first attempt to take care of who I am deep on the inside. And when I got that call at the shoot and they said, your daughter's bleeding internally, like you need to get her here so we can fly her, and I'm hours away, I immediately felt like loads of mom guilt, loads and loads of it, because I was like, you shouldn't have come. This is like you knew all these things in the back of your head, that little nasty voice that makes us think when we do something for ourselves and the world keeps spinning and something unfortunate might happen or does happen, we're like, oh, that was my fault. Like, this is what I get for venturing out. And it's so backwards. So I've had to wrestle with that. And finally, I just came to terms with the fact that I can't ask anything of Aspen that I can't show her. So if I want my daughter to be independent and strong and take care of herself and take moments for herself, then she has to see me do those things. She has to see me show up when I'm not feeling well or when I'm sad, all those things that I dream for her so that she can make the most out of her time in this world, I have to try and emulate. So that's what I try to balance, right? Is, okay, I want her to eat well, take care of her body, love her friends, love the people around her, be polite, be kind, which those are, no matter what you're feeling on the inside, that's super important to me. So I just kind of keep that in mind of like, who do I dream Aspen to be? What do I see in her that I wish I saw more of in myself? And then I really try to lean into that, but wrestling with the emotions that come along with everything. Sometimes I don't wrestle with them. Sometimes I just let them, lay me out on the floor. And like, it might be a whole 2 hours of Bluey. Like, that might be what it takes for me to have time to myself, to cry if I'm having like, a trauma flashback, because sometimes days, if something traumatic happened on a day, just physically, I can feel unwell. Learning that sometimes I feel proud of myself if I push through those moments, or sometimes I will feel like I didn't honor my true self. I didn't honor what I was feeling. So just listening to my body, listening to what it tells me when I'm around people, framing my days in the thought of what's going to make me feel safe, because that's kind of how you heal trauma. So how do I walk through this day and maintain a feeling of safety, but then also give joy to others? It's a lot, and I don't think that there's an actual real balance for it. I think it's something you get up and you do every day, and sometimes you're not proud at the end of the day because there's something you might have done better or could have done better, but it's mainly about learning and just trying.
That is so powerful. And I love what you said about, you kind of have to show your daughter, what you want for her. And I know that I'm relating to this. I know there's so many of you out there that are relating to this. Thank you for saying that and sharing that. I know there's like, oh, no such thing as a wrong answer, but that was such a right answer. In I could just listen to you just share all day long, because there's so much vulnerability and so much wisdom and takeaways from just the truth in your process. And I really, really love that. With some of what you shared to us, I'm going to ask you to maybe take that a little bit farther. But before you do, what has been maybe one of the most helpful tools or piece of advice that you can think of that you've received on your journey? And it can have to do with work, motherhood, something else. Like it doesn't matter. Just like any like standout tool or piece of advice that you've carried with you.
Ultimately, the best advice, and moms hear this all the time, but it's take the picture. If it's work and you're like, oh, I kind of like that, but I could have done this better, take the picture anyways. Take the picture and study it later. Figure out what you want to do. Don't just try to stash it away from your mind, One of the pilots, I took a lot of flights, a lot of private plane flights. That's what I like to call them, with Aspen. And that's who told me to take the picture. She actually had to fly on a helicopter without me one day. And I was just frozen in that moment, thinking like, what's happening? I have no idea where life is going. And he said, hey, you should take a picture. And it was my second flight with that particular pilot. And I just looked at him and he's like, you want it, take the picture. And they aren't good photos. They're blurry. They're blurry because my hands were shaking, but that's been the most powerful thing, because you can look back on your memories and you can learn, you can glean joy from that, or just work through some emotions. So for me, even with the shows, there are some little pieces of the exhibition halls that I would just like take a picture. I'm like, I need to remember this feeling.
Yes. I mean, I'm a big journaler. And I feel like with what you said, I mean, like what is the saying? Like a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I almost feel like you're journaling through pictures, and it can be really personal. And we can even extend that into our work, because I feel like we're such our own worst critics. And especially when we're in the moment of something that we created a vision for, and maybe that vision isn't being executed quite the way that we want. So we kind of push it aside, as in like, we don't want to capture it. Mm-hmm. And really, if we captured it even in our work side of things and looked back at it, we would probably appreciate it and not be as critical as we were like in the moment. So I think that that's so true for almost every element of our life. So you guys heard that. So you can steal it. That's what we're here for.
There will be good days and bad days. Mainly, to me, I think being present in the good and the bad, trying not to numb that out, is so important for your personal development and your healing. And then also just like be tenacious, if your dream is going to take you 2-3 years, just claw away at it, like keep going. You might have other obligations that kind of take the front seat, but if you have that really strong voice, like whispering, or you're drawn to pictures, like don't hold yourself back because you think that it would be too hard to accomplish. Because a lot of the times we psych ourselves out before we even try something. That would be
100%.
my main thing. And then never underestimate the power of time.
Mm.
If you had said last year that this is what I would be doing, I'd be like, no, not at all. So just never underestimate what time can do.
I love that because it's true. There's so much that we have to do, like in our day, in our week, that some of the things that are put in us get put on the back burner. But instead of letting them go forever or forgetting why we started or forgetting why they were placed in us, like do the things you have to do, like to survive, to pay your bills, to do all the things, but keep at it with like your dreams. I love that. So we're going to lighten this back up just a little bit. Um, and being your true self and moving forward and pushing boundaries and clawing away at your dreams, I feel like you had some pretty, what I would call big wins this year. And I got to see you work and it was amazing. So share a little bit about some of the exciting things that's happening within your practice on the road. Like what are some of those big wins and exciting things from this past year?
I think, definitely the shows, that was a really big win. I got to be the lead makeup artist at, I think it was like 2 or 3 of the shows, and that was huge. Just to have that amount of trust put in with me, and then just to be able to stretch myself a little bit more. Those are huge wins. Getting back this is like not related to our industry, but moving my body, getting back to like the routines that we need to do to keep ourselves, strong and our minds happy, right? That was a pretty big win for me. I think I'm excited for some of the work that I actually got to do to come out so that I can share some of those photos because it was a little bit crazy in the best way. So, yeah.
Definitely check out some of the things that Hannah shared and her work. It is really, really inspiring. And, some of it is the day to day and your aesthetics and what you're doing in your beauty business as a skincare professional. And then there's these like mind blowing makeup looks as well. So I definitely want to encourage everyone to visit your pages, your channels, all the things. And with that said, will you give us like a sneak peek, like what's next, what's coming for this year besides the patients? I know that's coming for sure. We have an expectation of it that we're stepping into. And those who connected with you today, what's the best way that they can find you, and more importantly, support you, your work, and come alongside you in your journey?
Okay, so things that are coming.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes I have a hard time saying plans because I'm like, wait, let me execute it, and then I will tell you that I did it.
Right.
I really found that I love the atmosphere of working on a shoot. I thought it was so fantastic to be able to take someone through like 3 or 4 looks in a day and really just deconstruct the face, build it back up, deconstruct it, like turn it into something else. That felt so energizing. So, working on being able to do more of that, just moving into that side of my career. That's something that's coming. And then, as far as aesthetics goes, I am really wanting to grow my practice. So, I will be getting like more certifications, starting to take baby steps to be able to do lasers and the micro needling and really just ramp up what kind of transformations I can do. That's what's next. And my business is called Kasai Skin. It's actually named after the procedure that saves biliary atresia babies. So they need to receive a Kasai procedure within the first 120 days of life so that they can have a chance, at living longer. And that's my handle. So it's KASAI skin, and it's kasaiskin.com, at Kasai Skin on Instagram and Facebook. So, yeah.
Awesome. I did not know that. That is really special. And I have no doubt that all of that is coming your way, and I'm glad to kind of like have a seat in your life to see what's next. I I'm so grateful for you sharing your story and having the opportunity through the process for me to get to know you more, because it has been an honor. I just respect you as a mom and an artist and all of those things. So this time was really special. I do want to leave you with any last words if you would like, any closing statements that you might have.
I never got to say thank you to you. In those moments, you helped me pack up my makeup kit, and it was so huge because you didn't ask me a ton of questions. I like couldn't see through my tears, and I will never forget that. So thank you, because just for someone to just be there and not have to figure out, exactly what was going on in the moment, and then giving me this space to share more with you, I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, it was my pleasure, and it's always hard to watch somebody that you care about, or anyone in general, like struggling. And I am definitely a fixer and codependent. I'm glad that you said thank you and all of that thing, but it's just like how I operate. I'm like, what can I do? I can't not do anything, just makes me crazy. So yeah, it was my pleasure, and I was sorry that you were hurting. But I hope to get in some time with you this next year. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. And I also want to encourage everyone with what we shared today, and especially with what you shared, Hannah, to remember to dream big, take action, and set goals. And to remember that our team here in our community with Successful Stylist Academy is here to help you every step of the way. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week.